Howdy, folks. I thought I'd come back on air, and I had a few thoughts I wanted to discuss. This is Mo Fremont, Reseller Niche Podcast number 18, and I just wanted to talk about some things that I was going over my head the last couple of days. Today's discussion is going to be about 10 tips to sell stale eBay inventory. This is something I'm dealing with right now. I have an eBay store. I have quite a few items, but mainly they're stale items. I was actually in a mastermind group on Monday night, and from 10K on the Bay, one of his mastermind groups. And one of the questions he asked me were, he was kind of going through what I had listed and what the prices were, and kind of got me thinking about how to move some of the items, because I have quite a few items, probably about 650 items listed, but they're not moving. My sell-through rate, and we were going through that, it's really, really low, and things are just sitting. And I know it's summer, but I wanted to kind of brainstorm ideas to get things moving, at least, whether that be putting things on sale or updating items in my eBay store. So I wrote down 10 things that I think I could help myself to start selling, at least to generate some income so I can start purchasing more items, to prepare for Q4 that's coming up pretty soon. So I'm going to go through these. So number one, something actually I've started to do now. I didn't always take 12 pictures, and I'm talking about eBay here specifically. For my items, I'd have 3, 6, 9, sometimes 12 if it's an item that had a lot of parts, a lot of pieces, like a board game or something that just had a lot of different parts to it. But other than that, like for something sealed, very simple, I didn't always take enough pictures. So one thing I've been starting to do the last couple of weeks is I'm always maxing out 12 pictures. I've heard a lot of other people talk about this, and it seems to be helping. I'm not sure if that's just because I'm listing more or if it's actually because of the pictures, but I think it's helpful. And one thing I noticed is that from what I can see, I mean, you can actually double up on your pictures. I mean, I'm not saying take 2 pictures and use them, 6 times each. But if you have like 4 or 5 pictures, you can kind of recycle some of those pictures. So what I've been doing is if I have an item that I can only take 7 or maybe 6, 7 pictures of, I'll use, 6 pictures twice. You can just mess with the order a little bit so it's not very obvious. But at least then I've maxed out my 12 pictures, and I think that's pretty important. Makes it look like a fuller listing, at least in eBay's algorithm terms, I think. Obviously, I don't know, but I think. So that's number one. And I'm going back through my items that I have fewer pictures taken in on, and I'm actually adding the additional pictures. I'm taking the additional pictures. That I haven't completed yet, but I'm doing it bit by bit, especially because I found some items that I only had 3 pictures for. So I don't think it's that great to do that with. So I think it's a good thing for anybody to do. Let's see here. So other than that, moving on to number 2, with a lot of my listings, I kind of, how do we say this? I kind of went with generic listings. Like I'd start with the word vintage or retro, or I'd start with, something that I shouldn't have. And then I'm starting to find out that obviously keywords work great, but they're heavily weighted in the first couple of words. So one thing I've been doing is taking out erroneous words, anything. If I'm maxing out my listing, if I need to take out a word, it's going to be a word like vintage, retro, anything that doesn't really describe anything. That no one's, I mean, some people look up vintage, yes, but I mean, they're more likely going to look up the brand, the type of item, the size, the shape, the color, that kind of thing. So I'm trying to go with the brand first, if that's the most popular keyword. And then after that, moving on to the most important keywords in the 3 or 4 keywords, not necessarily even maxing out the eBay description, but just kind of going in order from best to not so good. So that way I'm kind of, taking advantage of something that people might look for. So one way I've kind of been doing this is if I didn't have an idea about what it was called, I would just kind of search for it myself and kind of find out, oh, okay, so this is what's popping up when I do my own eBay search as a user, as a customer. So I guess that moves on to number 3. When I didn't have a brand or I had no idea what something is, like I have a lot of loose toy clothing, a lot of loose like action figure parts and stuff like that, which I wasn't exactly sure where they go to. Like I'm trying to use more descriptive words. So I'll say something like, 1980s. I won't just say vintage action figure toy accessory or something generic like that. I'll try and niche it down. I'll try and really describe the color, the shape, the size, if it's heavy, the weight, and maybe I'll even put a guess in there, like, possibly fits with G.I. Joe figure or something like that. So people at least have an idea of what I'm going for, what I'm looking for. I mean, if they're searching for that, at least hopefully that will be something they're searching for, even if I don't know what it's called. So actually, okay, moving on to number 4. When I'm looking for stuff and I'm copying down descriptions and I'm going through my sold items. I'm not always, I'm not always pricing things correctly. From the way I used to do before, I'd always go with the very most expensive price, and I go down a little bit from that, but that's not always the case. Because a lot of times those items are sold. I mean, you can't really see Q4 pricing now, but you could a couple months back. So I think that's kind of obviously stuff is going to sell more and it's going to sell for higher prices during, December, January, that time of year. So I'm trying to find a middle ground and also trying to base it on how many have sold in the last 30 days. What are people listing at now that hasn't sold? Are there, 50,000 of these things, or are there only 3 of them? So that's how I'm kind of figuring out what my prices are, based on what people are actually doing, plus what they've done in the last few weeks, maybe up to 30 days. If it's something that's very rare, that's hardly ever sold, I also don't want to list it if it's just something that doesn't seem like it will sell. I'll try and factor in, has it ever sold? Are there any listings for it? If I did a Google search and Google Images, can I find previous listings? So, I mean, these are things that I do just to kind of get a better sense of what I'm supposed to be selling something at, as opposed to what I really sell something for. So moving on to number 5, I've stopped relisting items. I have a lot of items that, didn't sell, but what I would do is I'd relist them. I never really did good till canceled, but I would relist a lot. And I noticed that relisting doesn't really help. It's kind of something that I don't think eBay picks up on it as much. From what I've been reading and seeing, if you do sell similar and you edit things like edit the title, edit the description, maybe tweak the pictures, add more pictures, kind of reverse them so it doesn't look like the same listing, you get pushed up a little bit higher, almost like, I'm not sure if it's exactly like a new listing, but almost like a new listing. And I've been able to sell. I noticed that when I did that, the first day I sold an item that had been sitting for 30 days and didn't sell. But then as soon as I sold similar, and I did those edits, then the item sold. So it's something that I'm trying to do more. I'm trying to take more time with my listings, not kind of rush through them. So I think it's something that's helping. And then, okay, moving on to number 6. I'm trying to throw in auctions. I haven't done many auctions in the past. I think around Q4 I did some, only because I got a bunch of free listings like you always do with eBay. but I'm trying to throw them in just to, I don't know, throw off the algorithm somehow. Is there something that does to help you move items? I'm not so sure. I have heard people talk about using auctions strategically. So you kind of find an item that seemed to have a lot of maybe watchers, a lot of interest, but didn't sell, and then possibly throw it to auction. I kind of don't really do that as much. I'd prefer to stick to having a buy it now, but my auctions are generally for items that I don't think were good buys. They're kind of duds. Maybe I shouldn't have bought them. Maybe they're broken. Maybe I just need to get rid of them. They're just taking up space. So I'll throw in auctions just to see, and I'll try a 3-day auction, maybe a 7-day auction. I don't really like 10-day auctions, just to get interest, and hopefully somebody will take a look at something else in the store. I'm not sure, but I don't know. Next thing, number 7, free shipping. I'm not a big fan, but I've started to do free shipping on items that are less than 1 pound. A lot of t-shirts, shirts, button-up half-sleeve shirts, action figures sometimes, and depending on what it is, like media, I'll do it with media with CDs, DVDs, video games, any of those I'll do free shipping on. And what I'll generally do is bump up the price slightly to kind of make up for a slight part of the shipping, because for me, first class shipping domestically within the United States is $4.30. That's basically a little bit under 16 ounces, under the pound. So I won't put the full $4.30 in there, but I'll bump it up maybe half of that, $2. So I don't know if that really helps. Some people like it. I'm still not a big fan of free shipping. Free shipping kind of just, I don't know. I think it's more for the algorithm to show that I'm offering that, being a more well-rounded seller, maybe. So I don't know. Maybe you guys can talk about free shipping and see if you guys do free shipping or not. Around Q4, I kind of take that away too, especially because I think December 10th through January 10th, all the carriers don't have their guarantees for shipping anymore. So if you're shipping something prior to your express mail from, I think, December 10th to January 10th, it's not guaranteed to get there the way they say it is. Especially, I know UPS and FedEx, I'm pretty sure the post office as well. There's no guarantees on your mail. If it takes 4 days to get somewhere express mail, then it takes 4 days, and it's in the fine print. So Q4, I don't generally do free shipping ever. There's no point, especially because stuff is actually moving a lot faster. Okay, so number 8. I'm trying to pick things in different categories to list. I've noticed that does help. This I have noticed helps. And especially when I'm listing, I know it's easier to list if you got like 10 pairs of jeans, list them all at once. But maybe for your 11th item, you could throw in a CD or an action figure or something else that will help, hopefully, again, trigger that algorithm. I've noticed that if I try and list at least in 2 different categories each time, each listing, I should say, when I sit down to list, each time I'm listing, if I can list in at least 2 categories, it's helpful. I don't know if it's just me thinking that way, but I think it helps, just to, again, show that you have a more well-rounded eBay account to eBay. Hopefully that helps. Number 9, I was thinking about, best offer, something I used to have on every single item. I'm starting to take those away. It's just something that I'm not sure is necessary, especially if you're running sales, especially if you are giving free shipping. I'm not sure if best offer is in your best interests, because, I mean, obviously, if you're listing something that's $200 for $600, it's probably not going to sell. But I mean, if you're listing things close to what they should be listed, and you've got good listings, you've got maybe either free shipping or you're just doing a good job with your listing in general, I don't think best offer is always the best thing. I'm starting to throw that in only when something's stops selling. I mean, I should say stop selling. Doesn't sell after maybe 60 days, 90 days, something like that. And I have a lot of items that have been sitting. So even those, when I'm relisting or selling similar for the first time in a while, I still don't do best offer until it's the second or third time I'm putting them up, because it's just, I don't know, if you have the choice of paying $20 or something or $30, which you're going to take? I mean, you're obviously going to want to pay less. And if the person is saying, go ahead and take it for less, you're going to do that. So I don't know if it's always in your interest to use best offer. I mean, you guys can talk about that. I'm not exactly sure, but that's just what I think. And the last thing is descriptions. I've been thinking a lot about descriptions. People buy a lot in their cell phones, and I've heard a lot of people say, you know what, I only put what I need in the description. I'll put the basics, basically what's in the title plus a few extra things and maybe, a thank you or whatnot. Only, if you're looking on your cell phone, a lot of that description gets cut out or it gets squashed. So it's like 2 or 3 words a sentence and you don't even see the bottom of it. I used to have this long description template for every single item, and I'm starting to move that away and only put keywords that I think are going to pop up in a search. I don't know if that's helpful or not, but I guess we'll find out. I mean, I definitely want to add keywords and descriptive words that people are looking for, but there's a lot of stuff that I think is not needed in a description. But I'm not sure. I'm kind of moving away from a long description to a short description that's more specific. So I guess, we'll find out in the next few weeks if that helps or not. So I hope these tips helped you. It's something that I've been working on for the last couple of days, and I'm implementing them now. Probably in the next few weeks, I'll start to see if these are working or not. I'm starting to see a few sales, very few, but we will see. The only thing I left out of there was having a kind of a blowout sale. That one I kind of thought was kind of a given. I guess it's an alternative thing you can do is obviously have a sale and your seller manager just throw in 30, 40, 50%. I've seen people do 75%. It's ridiculous. I wouldn't do that, but 25 to 30% is not out of the ordinary. So I want to thank you guys for listening. I hope these tips were helpful. If they are, check us out on if you're listening on the podcast on iTunes, please subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe also. And if you could hit the like button, that'd be great. We also have a Facebook group, Reseller Niche Podcast, on Facebook. So until then, you guys have a good one, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.